Good Thursday morning, guys. My name is Jerry Miller, and welcome to the I Love CVille Show. We're live in Charlottesville, the Commonwealth, the country, and the world on the I Love CVille Network, and we're presented by Ting, crazy fast internet, the best of the best. We use it to power this network. We encourage you to get involved with Ting if you can, because there is nothing that compares to this ISP and to this internet service provider. It's going to be a good show for you today. Jason Grigg is going to join us in the 1 o'clock hour. This gentleman, a business owner who is making positive impact in this community through racket sports, through pickleball, through tennis. You may know Jason Grigg as the head of racket sports at ACAC at one time. Today, he's running a business that I'm very, very excited to champion on this program. Before we welcome Jason to the show, why don't we, Judah Wickhauer, our director, go to the studio camera, and we'll welcome two guests to the show. Kara Chandeysson is back in the house. I believe this is her third rodeo on the network. First time in the studio is Mike Tarrant, who I believe from North Carolina in the house today. So two big-time people. Thank you, A, first for joining us, and B, why don't we go ladies first? I think everyone by now is getting to know who you are. You must have a clone or something, because you're a mover and shaker and you are everywhere. I am so impressed with you. But for those that don't know, how about a reintroduction to yourself?
Sure. My name is Kara Chandeysson. I'm the city manager for Ting Internet here in Charlottesville. And like you said, Jerry, it's my third time back on the show. I think the first time was in the summer when it was really, really hot. And I'm just excited to be back with my friend and my coworker, Mike Tarrant, who's the director of our business department here at Ting.
Fantastic. Mike is in the house. Good afternoon, Mike. How's it going with you?
It's going good. Good afternoon, and thanks for having us here.
It's an absolute pleasure. Mike, how about a little background on you?
Sure. I live in just outside of Raleigh, North Carolina, in Holly Springs, which is one of our Ting towns. And I am the director of enterprise and business sales for Ting. So I oversee business sales not only in Charlottesville here, but in all of our 13 Ting towns across the country, including our new market, Encinitas, which is in Southern California.
How long have you worked for Ting? What do you enjoy about working there?
I've been here for 4 years. I used to work with a cable operator that shall remain nameless at this time. But I love that we're kind of the anti-telecommunications company. We do things differently. We care about our customers. We care about our employees. We care about the people that work with us. And it's just it's a different kind of mindset and culture at Ting. As I think most people, when you meet us or you see us in the community, you see a lot of that. And that's a lot of fun.
I can speak for that. How about I do it? Instead of, okay, this is how I'm going to speak for it, okay? We have this network. Before we were with this other, we're not going to name provider, and then we switched to Ting. And the service from a customer service standpoint was night and day different. We could reach someone on the phone. There was someone in the market that I could talk to eyeball to eyeball. If there was a problem with something, which there was not, there was someone who was willing to meet with me, to figure it out. I mean, it was night and day difference. And then let's talk about performance. The performance of what you guys offer versus what we previously had is also not even comparable. No drop frames. We have not had any kind of outages here so far. This man, Judah Wickhauer, our director, who had to deal with all that stuff, you know what he said to me? He said, this is so much better for my quality of life at this company, just switching to Ting as an ISP. That is genuinely 100% what has happened here. And it's extremely important because this is how we make our living. I want to highlight you because you, again, amazing. Whether it's getting involved with the Chamber of Commerce, whether it's getting involved with the Tom Tom Festival, the stuff that you guys are doing at IX, the stuff with the Charlottesville Business Innovation Council. I mean, you are just proud to be a part of this community.
Well, proud to be part of the community, but being able to work for a company that I love and truly believe in makes all of that so much more easy to do. The one thing about Ting that Mike talked about is our customer service, but we also strive to connect people. We connect families to their workplace, to their school, to their churches, to their gyms, but also connecting businesses is very important to us. And being a member and a supporter of the Chamber of Commerce is extremely important. We were part of Project Rebound, and we're continually talking with the Chamber and other organizations in the community to make sure that we're driving foot traffic back into businesses. And we're also providing the best gigabit symmetrical internet we can.
It's awesome. I've seen it firsthand. So how do we grow? How do more folks get touched by this amazing brand around the country?
Yeah, well, we're trying to expand our network both residentially and commercially as fast as we can. And there are new areas where we're growing into new build neighborhood subdivisions. We've also built our network up to the Virginia UVA Research Park, and then over near Crutchfield and the airport. And then there are a number of other areas throughout the city that we're expanding our network into. So, we're trying to go as fast as we can. We get a lot of neighborhoods that inquire about service. We get a lot of businesses that are inquiring about services, and we're trying to get to them as fast as we can.
I mean, you guys are the super beautiful lady or the super handsome guy at the dance right now that everyone wants a piece of right now, and that's totally Ting. Because I'm going to tell you firsthand, I've literally seen the difference in this network because of strictly the switch to Ting. You have so many fantastic brands and businesses you work alongside. Mm-hmm. I mean, so many that have become probably friends through the business partnership first. Can we maybe highlight a few?
Oh, for sure. Story House.
Sasha.
Not only Sasha, but all of the people that work for Story House. We were able to help them before their big pie giveaway event. They were having some internet challenges, and Ting was able to come in and provide them service. So we're really happy to not only give great internet service, but support our friends here in the community. Like Mike mentioned, we're in several, developments. We have a great partnership with Belvedere. We've recently brought fiber up Rio Road and are serving Dunlora, and are building fiber in Raintree, Northfield. So we're trying to build as fast as we can to serve as many residential customers, but we're also serving businesses and churches and government. Albemarle County is one of our customers as well.
How about the impact of COVID and the prioritization of quality ISP? I mean, you got kids learning from home, mom and dad's working from home. The last thing we need when we're on a Zoom call with the boss and our children are learning geography from the coat closet or the kitchen table is to have buffering issues or something. Can you put that in perspective for us?
Yeah, I can. And Kara mentioned a few of the businesses that we provide service to, and I'd like to even talk about maybe a few of the stories where this did make an impact. When COVID did hit, obviously a lot of us work from home now. Maybe you did work from home or maybe you didn't, but a lot of people were pushed to work from home. And we had, about a year ago when COVID was really impacting everyone, we had a number of businesses that were scrambling to say, hey, I need to shift. And I need people to have this at home, and I need to be able to have better dedicated services in our office place so that they can reach, servers and data at the workplace. And so we did a couple of examples when we worked with the county, Albemarle County. We were able to, and it was a tough environment too, because, installers and being safe and what were the protocols within the building, and certain buildings weren't open, but we were able to work within that and be able to provide what was really kind of a mission critical effort to get services in for the county. We did this also for Apex Clean Energy, who had a similar situation, pushing people to work from home. And, those are some of the examples that we've got. We did one of the things that we do sometimes is bulk internet services with apartment complexes or HOA neighborhoods. And Kara mentioned the Belvedere neighborhood. And they have a lot of people that work from home. And so we did a bulk arrangement where everyone in the neighborhood has Ting service. And I've heard from folks in the Belvedere neighborhood who have talked about, thank goodness we went forward with this. And we have this before the COVID environment because it enabled people to be able to work from home, do their school from home, and all the other things that they need to do.
Great answer. How about this question for you? Open-ended question for you. Everybody wants this. Everybody wants Ting. I know in this community, at least, everybody wants Ting. How does that process work? I mean, I know it's a patience type process here. Sometimes patience is tough when internet's so much a priority during COVID. Open-ended. You want to throw that to you?
Yeah, I'll start, on the residential side. When we first, bought Blue Ridge Internet Works 5 years ago and started rolling out Ting, we very much wanted people to pre-order, to show an interest not only in their individual house, but in an area, so we could determine how best to build fiber. We still use that process where people can pre-order online. It's a great measurement for us to see where, people are moving, where people want Ting. But we also follow our fiber network where we are now. It makes sense to kind of continue that flow of where the fiber is built and to add on from that footpath. But you're right, we have a tremendous amount of people that reach out. I follow a lot of external Slack channels that also talk to me about when are we going to get Ting. And although it's great to hear that, we're trying very hard to build as fast as we can, but we're a responsible company. We want to make sure that we're continuing to support our employees as well as make sure that we're giving best-in-class customer service.
You just had an example of this customer service. Andre Xavier has posted on the feed today on one of our many channels. Andre Xavier is a business owner. He owns CVille Travel. He's the co-owner of CVille Hop-On Tours. CVille Hop-On Tours. He also is the owner of CVille 3D, a photography business. He literally just posted, he lives in Albemarle County, right by Darden Towel. Said, yesterday my neighbor actually cut his Ting cable to his house doing a gardening project. Ting was at his house within 3 hours of the call. Talk about customer service. My family loves Ting. Literally just posted that.
So I mean, it's just interesting because this is Ting. This is such a Ting example because we have obviously our local channels where we follow things that happen externally, but internally, I saw that ticket came over.
You did?
And our installation manager, Marcus Johnston, hopped on that right away, and we were able to solve that problem. So that makes me very proud to see the resolution happen so quickly and to get that feedback. It's always nice to hear that.
She is absolutely amazing, and I'm gonna toot her own horn here. People love this lady in this community. Sherry Cooper is watching. She says you are an absolutely awesome person. You got folks from the Chamber of Commerce watching the show now. Can we highlight for the folks that are watching Project Rebound and how important the Chamber has been with this community and recovery?
Oh, I don't even know where to begin with that. I mean, obviously with Project Rebound was an amazing experience for many of the business leaders and within the public sector as well, had representation, just showing the ability to work together to identify ways we can help the community, re-energize the community. I was just explaining to you earlier, Chris Engel put together a call with the Office of Economic Development with, again, some of the players from Project Rebound as well as the Chamber, and really trying to make sure that we are thinking of every angle of what we can do to support the business community here in Charlottesville. It's nice to be involved with that as, an ISP, as Ting, because so oftentimes people just think of their internet provider and needing internet. But so much of what we do is giving back to the community. I recently said that's the most important part of my job is making sure that people don't just view Ting as their internet provider, but we truly care about Charlottesville, and that's what sets us apart.
Folks watching in Nelson County, so this is coming from Laura, who says she's watching in Nelson. Question for you: how do we choose where to go? How do we grow? If more people want it. Yep. That's what she's asking.
Yeah, no, totally good question. And every year we examine the area, and we're trying to build out Charlottesville first, and then we are building out from Charlottesville. So we want to make sure that we take care of the entire city first, so that there are not pockets where you live across that street and you can't get Ting service. So we're doing that. There are some really good areas for us to go. That's up 29 in that kind of general area where the UVA Research Park is. And then we've also got some very aggressive plans to grow the rest of this year and into next year. So we're looking at the community. We're looking at expanding beyond just Charlottesville. And every year we do some planning, and we try to figure out where are good places for us to go.
I'm looking at the heat map here. We got folks in the Triangle in North Carolina watching, folks outside Asheville on the show, Northern Virginia, Southwestern Virginia, Long Island, and just outside Pennsylvania watching the program. How does it feel, Kara, when you are working and representing a business that everybody loves? I mean, you're like working for a company and a brand that is wanted, it's coveted, it's asked for. It's like, bring it to me. What's that feel like?
Well, I'll share a story with you. So I, like Mike, used to work for another company in the telecommunication field, and I used to live in DC. And I will never forget one time I wore a T-shirt to the gym with that company's name on it, and instead of like, cool, you work for that company, it was, let me tell you about my issues. I don't get that with Ting.
Right.
Like, I proudly wear my Ting coat and my Ting baseball hat. Yeah, let's
this
check out your swag.
You know what? I'm going to bust this mask out.
There
I
you go.
swear I will wear this proudly around town. I will wear this proudly, Kara, around town. No problem. They gave me a goodie bag. I have no problem putting this on, wearing this around
There you
town.
go.
I would not have done it if it was the other one, because so many bad stories personally for me.
And we have a really great and creative marketing team that gives us fun things to give out to our customers and our business customers. They're always coming up with the most creative ways to celebrate Ting and to have people see our brand.
Well, I love how like you even get involved with like the Tom Tom Festival. Like you guys are like actively trying to make the community more positive and better. I remember going to the Tom Tom Festival. I think this was when I think her name was Drew.
Yes.
Yeah, she had like a pop-up tent.
Right.
And there was like a meet and greet of like business owners just shaking hands, having some beers, and just
Right.
having a good time.
So Drew Hurst used to be our marketing manager for Charlottesville, and now she manages all of the marketing managers for all the Ting towns across the country.
Wow,
And
go Drew.
Yeah, go Drew, right? And she's phenomenal. She was creative, and I love what we did in one of our developments in Johnson Village last year at St. Patrick's Day, or 2 years ago, I should say. And Drew had an event where we had Carpe Diem come out, and we had hot chocolate and coffee and donuts early in the morning. And because it was St. Patrick's Day, she had little like leprechaun pathways and little gold charms and green shamrocks everywhere. And I don't think a larger company would take that much time to get to understand a development that has little kids and they're out walking the dog early in the morning and people can grab a hot cocoa and a donut and talk about Ting. And I get so excited about that stuff.
Well,
it's amazing we do that.
More comments coming in. I did not think it would go like this. All right, this is from Steven. Get ready for this one.
Right.
Jerry, please tell your guests I would give my firstborn for Ting, especially how he's acting today since we can't go outside. We're stuck inside learning from home. We have internet that is not reliable. We just need something that can keep our kids online while dad's on a Zoom conference call. You get that constantly, I would bet.
Oh yeah, I'm sure. I can't help you with the 1-year-old, but if you sign up for Ting, it'll definitely help correct some of the problems that you're having.
And it's probably not going to cost a firstborn.
No, it wouldn't cost a firstborn. In fact, on the business side, you can get services that start at $139 a month. And we've got something for every business, whether you're a small, medium, or large enterprise organization.
John Keefe is watching. He's in Nashville right now. Jerry, I'm watching from Nashville. I had Ting while I was in Charlottesville. I absolutely loved it. I'm moving back to Charlottesville, and when I do, I will get Ting again. He works for nugs.net, which is a music streaming service. So you can see why Ting would be critically important for that type of field. Throw this to you. Community, being a part of it, obviously critically important. Supporting small and medium-sized businesses, obviously critically important. How about the residential side? Can we go down that road?
Oh, I mean, of course. That's, the majority of our customers are residential customers. We serve many different pockets, many different neighborhoods here in Charlottesville. And it's wonderful to hear from our customer base that we're making a difference in their homes. I think we talked about it probably the last 2 times I was on the show, that it's great to get feedback that people are able to work from home, not just one parent, but if there's 2 people working from home now, people that are accessing their churches, their gyms. I can't even imagine like what all we do through the internet right now, and then children going to school through virtually right now. So yeah, we're proud to be able to support the community, but we're proud to be able to be making a difference in people's homes.
We got Hilton Head online right now, Buckhead, our friends at Buckhead in Atlanta watching the program, 5 different states watching the show. Mike, throw this to you. Favorite aspects of your job while working for Ting?
Boy, other than working with Kara, I would say I really enjoy working with all the Ting towns and just seeing the reaction and the impact that we're able to have with the business community throughout all the Ting towns, and doing things. We did, I don't know if it's widely known, but we provided wireless internet access for the University of Virginia's football and basketball arenas. And that was, a super cool project that helped solve a really big and growing problem for UVA in their arenas. And just to be able to say, and then hear people tell us, the difference is dramatic, and
I could speak again about that firsthand. I've season tickets to Scott Stadium and UVA football, and on a sold-out game with 64,000 people, you could not check the box score to see what, Smoke Mizell, how many rushing yards he has in the third quarter. Because I'm a super hardcore sports fan. I love looking at the box score in real time. And the ISP they previously had would not allow me to refresh the box score. That's not the case anymore.
Yeah, and they want to do some more advanced things in the future where maybe there's some in-game replays and things like that, or order something from the concession stand, and you need really good, reliable internet. And we, again, just the effort, it wasn't just supplying that solution, but utilizing our enterprise client success group, which helped support this and project manage it. It was a big undertaking to put it all together, but then, that's just the beginning part. The hard part, or not, that's the hard part, but the fun part becomes it's game day, and you realize we got to be on, we got to be live, it's got to work well, and if there are problem areas, we got to fix it. And we developed a plan with the folks at UVA to be able to do it. Pulled it off, and it's been fantastic. And I don't think that it's a coincidence that the basketball team won a championship the first year.
Nice. I think it's a direct correlation right there. Okay, you have Spencer, Jennifer, Laura, 2 Jennifers, all asking the same question. And you know what that question is?
When can I get Ting?
Yeah. Literally, this is all coming on the feed. Jerry, what do I have to do to get Ting here? I mean, how often do you get that?
A lot.
All the time.
A lot. My email address is pretty simple. It's kara@ting.com, and a lot of people reach out to me directly to see where we're building fiber and when they can get Ting. So by all means, please reach out to me. I'd love to answer your questions.
Hannah McGee on the Ting team watching the program.
Right?
Hello,
Great.
Hannah.
Hi, Hannah.
We've enjoyed corresponding with you. I got a great story for you firsthand, Mike. We did a couple of weeks ago a 12-hour telethon on this network where we were on air straight from 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. and we were doing it to raise money for affordable housing. We ended up raising just under $73,000 through a live auction here. And Kara was our point of contact. And you know what she said? She said, I'm here with you. You got somebody at home base in case anything happens that's watching the telethon, that's monitoring everything. We got this. We got it covered. We had no issues. The telethon was a massive success. Raised over $70K for affordable housing.
Yeah, congratulations for that. That was
because of your help.
Amazing.
Right? I mean, if we didn't have, we wouldn't have been able to do that with the other people, with the other provider.
I'll
straight up say it. I straight up said it. I said it. Sherry, who can? Okay, there's the question again. I think are you the point of contact?
Yeah. For residential, right?
How about businesses?
That would be Mike.
Yeah. So for businesses, we do have a local sales rep, Mike Warren.
Okay. He was great.
mwarren@ting.com, but they can also inquire about getting business services by going to businessfiber.ting.com. So businessfiber, one word, .ting.com, and it'll funnel its way to Mike, and he'll reach out to you. But I mean, Kara's been fabulous too, and she's all around town. You see her all over the place. A lot of people approach her about getting services, business services, and she'll funnel them to Mike as well. But he's running all over the place. He's got a really good sales job because he's selling something that a lot of people want. And
right.
It's just like a matter of figuring out how do we get there, when can we get there, and just doing that. But
Shannon McSweeney, watching the program in Raleigh, North Carolina. Mm-hmm. Welcome, Shannon, to the show. Thank you for joining us. Mm-hmm. Candace Vanderlyn, hello. Stacy Reed, hello. Shannon Maranzano, hello. Two Shannons. Shannon says, I heart Ting, and I love Kara.
Oh. Well, that's lovely. What a nice thing to say.
Why not me?
Yeah, it's I also wanted to mention you bring up the chamber and just the connections that Ting has with the chamber, but the chamber has given us so many wonderful connections, like working with Rob Archer at the Code Building, and another part of my job, I love going and working with businesses here, and being able to work with Matt Pierman at Monticello High School with e-gaming, and my days are always so full with amazing business partners here in Charlottesville, and then continuing to try to help our students and children and families connect as well.
Candace Vanderlyn, watching the show, the fantastic real estate agent. She gives you the hands up emoji, Kara, over here. All right, I got one more question for you guys before we go. You guys are in the business. You follow innovation. You guys are cutting edge. What do you think Mike is coming down the pipe? You walked into an advertising agency here, someone that, a business that specializes in digital, mobile, and social. Mm-hmm. So I love to talk to smarter folks than me like you. What's coming down the pipe, do you think, innovation-wise, near future-wise, that we all should be mindful of?
As far as the internet goes?
Yeah.
Well, I think just in general, not that many years ago, you didn't need that much bandwidth to do stuff. And now everybody does video conferencing, everybody does a lot of streaming, a lot of applications that are in the cloud. More and more companies do that, and it's requiring more and more bandwidth. So I think just the demand on more and more bandwidth, we supply a gigabit as our baseline internet access, and that is more than enough bandwidth for most homes and most businesses, to be honest with you. But I see that we'll be growing in that area where we'll have, and we do currently for the business side, have other offerings, more advanced and hefty bandwidth capabilities. But there's also been a high demand for wireless and meshed wireless.
What's that mean?
So wireless, typically in your home, you might have a router or some kind of a device there that broadcasts wireless. But if you are either in a campus environment, a multi-dwelling unit apartment complex, or large houses, a lot of those folks, there's a limit to how far the Wi-Fi spreads. And we've done this with some churches as well, which are obviously big facilities. When you put in a mesh network, it gives people the ability to have Wi-Fi internet throughout that complex and not have to drop off one network, re-sign into another network. It allows you to just seamlessly, and not care about it, basically. If you're the end user, you just walk around and have internet wherever you need it to be. So I see mesh networks, there are a lot of people that put them in their homes today, but I see those becoming much more common in the business place.
Very cool, very cool. Why don't we close with this question? 32 minutes into this interview, it flies by in this setting. This community, and your mom, wife,
yes,
evangelist of Charlottesville.
Yes.
What's this community mean to you personally?
Oh, well, it's given so much. right? It gives me so much. I have tremendous support here. My family and I moved here 15 years ago from DC, and I never expected to find such amazing friendships for my children, my husband, and myself. We have an amazing church community. We have a very close school community. Both of our kids, one graduated, went to Charlottesville Catholic School, and now my oldest is going to Covenant, and the business community. I've never felt such leaders in a community support each other for a common cause, and that's for the greater good of Charlottesville. So yeah, I heart Charlottesville.
Thank you for saying that. Johnny Ornalis, he's the owner of El Mariachi, the restaurant in Zion's Crossroads. He also owns Guadalajara in the Fry Springs area. He says, please come to Fry Springs. Please come to Fry 6.
Yes.
You've got a lot of business owners that are asking this. These guys are the best of the best. I have truly seen it firsthand. How about a final word from you, Mike? What do you think?
Listen, I just appreciate the opportunity to come here and talk about Ting and meet you and get to feel the vibe of your program and just love the fact that there are so many people from all over the place, not just here, that are viewing the show. But I love working with Ting. We do have a great product. We do have great services. I love coming down to Charlottesville all the time. I love the restaurants down on the mall area. Just tons of great food and great fun, and love the community and love being part of all of it.
Thank you for joining us.
Absolutely.
We're truly
Thanks,
grateful. Jerry. You guys killed it. Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you. The best thing to do would be to head that way, over there, around. Judah, if you want to go on a one-shot with me, and then I'm going to get Jason Grigg in the mix. Kara, thank you. Yeah, thank you. Mike, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too.
Nice
Thanks.
to meet you too. Guys, I'm going to close with this. We have a special offer through ilovecville.ting.com, ilovecville.ting.com. If you want to get involved with the best ISP in the business, we use it to power this network. Guys, once we got Ting on the I Love CVille Network, we just went up. It's a trusted partner in the game. I'm going to reach out to Jason Grigg. Jason Grigg is a business owner. Jason Grigg is an evangelist of the community. Jason Grigg plays a sport that I've become absolutely 100% addicted to. I saw this gentleman 2 days ago. Jason, my friend, how are you?
Good, thank you. Thank you, Jerry, for having me on your show. I appreciate it.
Our pleasure. Guess what? Candace Vanderlyn is watching, and she said, I used to play tennis with Jason. He's absolutely awesome. Please tell him I said hello. Anyone who's played tennis with this man through ACAC, any man who's played or pickleball with this man through his business, give him some props now on Facebook, and I will relay it to him. Jason Grigg, I got to say something. The sport that you're the champion of, this pickleball game, dude, it's like a freaking addiction, man.
It totally is, isn't it? I mean, it's one of those things where you definitely saw it the other night, where it's like you were playing and we're playing along, and you're like, man, I love sports, and then it's like, well, it's all like, I think I love this sport the best, just because it's so addicting. And it's one of those where you just start, it only takes just a little bit of competitiveness, and if you just have a little bit of competitiveness, you're like going. It's awesome.
How about this? How have you seen firsthand this sport boom? Everyone's talking. This is the fastest growing sport in America. We see what's happening in the Pro Tour. We see what's happening at Penn Park, right? We see what's happening at PVCC. Give us a snapshot of your prediction of what's happening with pickleball.
Well, I think the pandemic has definitely put ourselves in a position where either it's tennis or pickle for sure. People are looking for outdoor activity where they can be active, and pickleball fits a niche. Right, so either it's one of those things where you don't necessarily have to have the skill to play tennis, or it's also sometimes an age niche where people are looking for activity. And the thing that I have seen, just spend my little bit of time coaching, is that they're taking over. Right, I mean the numbers are multiplying by the tens, but probably by the hundreds, if not more.
This question just came in. I'm sure you get this question all the time. This question is from Brian Koslowski. Jerry, please ask your guests how we can get dedicated courts to play this sport in Central Virginia. Are there any? Where can I play where I'm not atop a tennis court?
That's a very good question. That is the number one thing we hear a lot of. And I can tell you that it's coming. So there are more dedicated pickleball courts that are definitely coming. I mean, right now you have to travel. They have some at Glenmore. They have one at Farmington. They have some at What is it? It's Spring Creek. They have another place. They have 3 courts that are over there. But if the biggest facilities you have to travel as far as Richmond, right? So you have to get all the way down south and go down to Richmond, and you can go to Ponce Park, and they have 12 outdoor courts there, so you can go play. But right now, there isn't anything specific in Charlottesville. I got a feeling it's coming shortly.
Jack Maxwell. Please tell Jason the Maxwell say hello. Please tell Jason we need pickleball courts in Scottsville, Virginia. Candace Vanderlyn, Jason with 10 exclamation points behind your name from Candace Vanderlyn. Kelly Jackson, welcome to the broadcast. Northern Virginia, Richmond, Southwestern Virginia, Crozet, and Central Virginia, hello. All right, how do we do it? I mean, what do we do to get these courts? Dude, I'm going to show you right here. Look at these questions for you about courts here.
That's the number one thing, right? I think it's a combination of a couple pieces. One is, I think as a community for all the pickleball players, there's all these pockets of pickleball players, right? So there's a pocket here, there's a pocket in Crozet, there's a pocket in, down south, there's a pocket, all around our community. But I think the one thing that we need to do is we need to make sure that we try to get everyone together as one voice so that we can go to the city and say, okay, we have 3,000 people that play pickleball in this area, and they want permanent pickleball courts. So instead of it being just a small little group of 200 people here or a couple people here, I think if we can all band together and try to go forward and be one voice, I think that's the number one thing that we can do to try to get dedicated pickleball courts here.
This question comes via Twitter. Folks on Twitter, at me, and I'll ask the question to Jason. Jason, I've met you from our days at ACAC. Please ask Jason this question. Will pickleball be a sport my kids can play at the high school level?
Yes, that is going to be the future of what's going to happen. So, part of my goal going this year is to try to see if we can get more pickleball in the schools, right? Creating more of a school-based pickleball group, if you will, or it's something that allows PE teachers to have success and kids to have success right away. So I think the future of junior pickleball is very, very, very bright. But I think it just takes somebody to try to start that and jumpstart it a little bit. And once we get it going, I think that the sky's the limit.
Candace says, Jason, any tournaments scheduled at all, groups or team play, anything on the horizon for us?
Is that for tennis or for pickleball?
She's probably saying both, I think. Yeah.
So I'm guessing it's for tennis for her because I don't think she plays much pickle. But, so I know Candace from ACAC, and we have done a lot of tennis together. But I think that the tennis piece, there's a lot of USTA leagues that are going to start up here shortly, and the local leagues for people that are looking to try to get into the tennis part of it. But I would think that's also an area that we want to think about trying to grow pickleball here too. So being able to create more ways to play. So it's not always about, okay, you and I get together, we've got 4 people, we go here. It's okay, let's get 10 to 20 people together, and they're all going to play at a certain time, and we can level base the different groups and being able to have more community-based leagues, if you will.
This question is a good one. All right, I'll just read it to you verbatim, okay? And then you go from here. This is from Laura. Jerry, I'm a tennis player and a tennis player only. We do feel threatened by pickleball because we're concerned about our courts going away. That being said, we all realize how many people are playing this sport and that it's not going to go away. Can you ask your guests how we coexist?
Yeah, that's a really good question, right? So I think the idea is I don't think tennis players have to fear the pickleball players at all, right? Ultimately, right, you go back to the first question, it's not about, the pickleball players wanting to take up the tennis courts per se, because that's the only place they have to go. So if we create somewhere that's off the tennis courts, if we create permanent pickleball courts in our community, we don't have to worry about them taking over the tennis courts at all. So I think the tennis people should get involved with that element of it. So they don't have to worry about us taking over as far as taking over the tennis courts because the pickleball players don't want to play on the tennis courts anyways. But if that's the only place that they have to go, that's where they're going to play.
Can you explain, I know the answer why, question for you, explain why we don't want to play on the tennis courts anyway.
Well, I mean, there's a lot of reasons. One is just because if most of the way that it's set up right now, even at Penn Park, is it's set up where you have to play over a tennis net. So we're talking about, if there's one pickleball court on one tennis court and you're playing over the tennis net, development-wise, that's not good for overall development because there's a lot of different things that you cannot do when you're playing over a tennis net. The net is too high. So if you start to get to a certain level, all the balls that you're hitting to get over that tennis net, all of a sudden now become attackable balls and you start getting whacked or your partner gets beat up. And there's another element where it's about going around the post too. So when you're using these skills on the tennis court over the tennis net, it's not conducive to skill development overall.
Jace?
That's one big reason. The other.
Go ahead. No, go ahead, please.
Yeah. So I was just going to say the other reason is even if we set courts up, like they have at PVCC where they actually have permanent pickleball courts, you still have to lug all your equipment out there. So you have to lug your net out there, set it up, and then play, and then lug it all back. So if you had a place to go where you don't, all you need to bring is your paddle and your ball, that would be fantastic.
Jason Grigg, our guest, the owner of JG Pickleball. Find him online at jgpickleball.com. This question for you, Jason, is now coming in. Do we think the sport will continue on this trajectory when COVID restrictions are lifted and people can go back in to working out inside or playing sports inside like squash? That's a good question, and it's signed Boar's Head member.
Well, that is a good question, right? And I think that's always one of those things when you look at growth and the potential of growth of pickleball and how fast it's growing. You look at, you have to always look at, the past before you can kind of look at the future. You look at something like racquetball, for example, right? Racquetball was a huge boom in the 70s. Everybody played it, but it was one of those sports that it was so easy to start. It was also so easy to quit. So you have to kind of look at that element of it. But I think pickle is here to stay. And what I would tell you is it's kind of in its terrible twos, which means there's a lot of growth. And I am telling you that pickleball is big business, and it's going to continue to grow.
Racquetball, one of my first loves when it came to racket sports. I'm asking this purely for selfish reasons for myself here. I am fearful that COVID is going to kill one of the sports I love in racquetball because the confidence one would have of getting in a box and sweating and being in close contact with a stranger during a pandemic, it's just not there. So I went, for example, this guy ran a fantastic league along with my friend Bruce Pierce at ACAC, where we had like 50 or 60 racquetball players, and I stayed in contact with my friends in this league, and it's over A, B, C, and D flights. And we had depth at each flight. And I was contacting my friends in the A flight that I'm used to playing with. Only one, our friend Babek, is willing to get in the box with me. Do you think it's going to kill racquetball, which was already on the decline? And then the second part of the question is, does it impact squash, which was booming before COVID?
Yeah, those are two really good questions, Jerry. I think the first one, to address the racquetball, I think, unfortunately, it is probably going to seriously hurt racquetball. And I think you have to look at it as a twofold. One is, from a business model, you look at how big of a space you need to put in there to actually play racquetball. And I would tell you from the ACAC standpoint, it's like, okay, I can put 50 spin bikes in that same place, and I can have a much better member benefit than I can with only 2 people in that space. So more than likely, sorry to say, I don't know what the future of racquetball is going to be, but I would guess that that's probably going to be a problem.
How about squash?
And I don't know about squash. I think it may hurt squash, but I think squash is such a unique sport. And I think that, UVA has really put a huge kind of stamp on it here locally. I think it's going to continue probably as it goes. I don't know what it's going to look like long term, but I don't think it's going to have the same effect that it's going to have with racquetball.
I love talking to this guy. I love talking about this sport. It has become such a passion. And I'm telling you, if you're looking for something to do that is COVID safe, and even if you're older and you're worried about your body breaking down, this is the sport. You can be social with people. You can do it in a way where it does not wear and tear your body, but it still rewards you for skills like hand-eye coordination and paddle skill set, being able to put the ball in places. There's a tremendous amount of skill here. You mentioned the University of Virginia. Can UVA, how important, like you said with squash, I mean, granted, UVA and squash had a huge benefit with Joffrey Woodruff and building this squash facility at the Boar's Head. I mean, we need a Joffrey Woodruff as we talk about for pickleball here. I mean, how do we get UVA involved with pickleball?
That's a very good question. I think that, there is some potential, I know that a lot of coaches, like D1 tennis coaches, were using pickleball as a good training for a lot of their tennis players. So I think maybe that's kind of the start with going to the coaching route and saying, okay, well, maybe you can use this as an alternative, right, for being able to try to work on certain skills and having a little crossover with pickleball. So maybe it's getting it more into the actual coaching piece, into the tennis part of it, and maybe that stems something long term.
Do you think at all we would see this as a collegiate scholarship sport?
I think so, yes. I think that's the future, right? So I would say, again, that the pickleball is in its terrible twos, which means it's teeny. So it's right now at the precipice of being able to grow at an exponential rate. So I think it's not out of the question to see it as a college or collegiate sport that the people are getting, scholarships to go play. I don't think it's unrealistic in the next 3 years to not see it as an Olympic sport, so that people are going to go and actually win Olympic medals, right, in pickleball. I don't see that as, it's probably even going to be sooner than that. It's probably going to be in 2 years. That's going to be the case.
Is it a chicken and an egg scenario in that we need the sport to start first at the youth level, or is it start first at the collegiate level and trickle down?
I think it's both. I probably more from the kids going up, but I think it could go either direction. I think it could be potential for both sides as it continues to grow. But even during the growth, and we talk about this growth, right, of, the numbers now being over 4 million people playing pickleball, there's still so many people where I can walk down the street and say, hey, have you heard of pickleball? And it's like you can hit 10 people and probably all 10, maybe one of the 10 has. So there's this element that people know about the sport. So once they get exposed to it, again, I think the exponential number just keeps growing and growing and growing.
How about evangelists at the local level? Obviously, you bang with Meg Charity. She's a tremendous player. She's a pro. You hit with her all the time, play with her all the time. Talk to us about how the Jason Griggs of the world and the Meg Charities of the world are expected almost to grow I mean, dude, you not only have pressure on your shoulders for running your business to cover your overhead and your bills, in a lot of ways, you have pressures on your shoulder to almost create the space and the industry in Central Virginia. Is that fair?
A little bit. And you know what? That was really one of my goals. When I kind of left my job at ACAC as a tennis director, one of my goals was to really immerse myself in the pickleball environment. So, because I think that that's part of the growth of pickleball as a whole. As more coaches get involved, as more really good organizers get involved, I think that that's what's going to help grow the sport overall. And it's going to be like you're talking about more even at the grassroots level, right? So getting into the community, and pickleball is such a community sport that I think if you can continue to grow it at the grassroots, so getting into the schools, getting it to kids maybe that are a little bit underprivileged, but it's giving them the opportunity to be active and do something that they've never seen before. I think they get it, and it's like the fun factor. You know what that's like. It doesn't take much, and it's like bing, and and they start loving that. So I think being able to grow that from that ground up, I think it's got tremendous potential, and I'm actually excited about all that opportunity myself.
I love it. I love it. Georgia Gilmer is giving you props. Aaron King is watching from Feast in the Purple Building on West Main. This is a good question. Jerry, can you ask your guests where we can play pickleball that's not private and where we don't have to worry about not having court time because it's so crowded?
Yeah, and that's a pretty good question. I think right now it's a little bit challenging, especially if you don't have your own net. If you actually have one of your own nets, I mean, you can also go over to PBCC, so you can get away with going over there. It's not as crowded during the day. There's a few less people over there, so you could hit over the tennis net in that environment. You could also do it up here at Tonsler. Penn Park is usually pretty busy. There's a lot of people there. So it's a little bit challenging. In the springtime actually is challenging in general, just because there's a lot of tennis going on. So there's a tremendous amount of tennis going on at all the different clubs, the facilities, USTA leagues, right? So there's this demand for courts anyways outside of pandemic. And right now it's definitely, you can see it for sure.
I just got a text message from Jay Osborne. You'll remember his name from racquetball. Jay Osborne is an inner circle friend of mine. He's also my racquetball nemesis. I've made it to 4 of the last 5 Charlottesville racquetball championships, and this guy, Jay Osborne, freaking beats me every damn time. He's watching. He says, dude, I'm in for pickleball anytime. I just got off the phone with a couple of players you played with last night, and they said they had so much fun and cannot wait to play again. When can we play? Put that in perspective. A lot of times it only takes once. And then people realize if they had any tennis background, any racket sports background, any ping pong or table tennis background, the ball is not moving that fast. The court is small, and you got a partner to help cover it. So it's not like you have to be like 6'4" with incredible lateral quickness and being able to jump out of the gym to be able to play this sport. It legitimately caters to every like body type. Is that safe?
Yeah, totally, for sure. And the other thing about it is most of the play is all doubles. So you could get away with having 3 other players skill level and somebody else that's never played, and they can all have a good time together. Right. So it's one of those where you can kind of really mesh that skill level as well as, age level. Right. So it's maybe you have somebody that's really young. Maybe you have somebody that's really a little bit older, and it really kind of bridges that gap in so many ways.
Patty Buyer, Jason says buying a net. What does he recommend from a net standpoint? And does he even recommend setting this up in the driveway or the cul-de-sac?
Yeah, that's also a really good question too. So that's one of the things that you can definitely do during this environment is that you can buy a net. I mean, there's tons of different websites. If you just Google, pickleball nets.
I suggest going through jgpickleball.com.
You could do that too. You could go through jgpickleball.com, and we have set up, we have nets on there that you can order from me directly, which also is good. Thank you, Jerry. But yes, then what you can set up is you can set it up in anywhere, right? So that's the other cool thing is that you can have it in the cul-de-sac of your neighborhood. You can set it up in your driveway. And you could do it as a family sport. That's also another huge draw. You get the whole family out there playing. It's great.
This is a good question. I've wondered this as well. Jerry, please, this is from Steve Moore. Jerry, please ask Jason why this is so much a double sport. Why is singles not prioritized more? I've wondered that as well, although I'm seeing singles coming more to the forefront, certainly on the pro tour. But why from a social or from I guess it's called the club level? At the club level, why is it so doubles prioritized?
Yeah, I mean, you call it rec league ready, and I think it's 2 things. One is it gets more people on the court, number 1. Right. So what happens is that if you go to a lot of these drop-in areas, they might have 4 or 8 pickleball courts and there's 25 or 30 people. Right. So it's trying to maximize space. So that's number 1. And then I think number 2 is that it also allows you to have a little bit more success. Having a partner on there, it's a little bit less stressful than going and playing singles. And that's kind of really number 3 is it's way more physical on your body to play singles. So there's a lot of drills that you can do. You can kind of, emulate a little bit more doubles if you only have 2 people where you're doing skinny singles is what it's called, where you're playing half court. So there's a lot of different elements that you can do where you can still get a pretty good workout but not have to run the entire full court. But that's a good question.
Do you think singles will start picking up in popularity? You do?
Yes, especially at the professional level, because one of the challenges, and you talked a little bit about this, like Megan, she's really good at she's kind of just below the tier of the top 10 players. So she's really, really good. But the challenge is, again, it's all doubles. So those top 10 players all play with the same people. So trying to find a doubles partner every single week that's at the same level is really difficult to do. So I think what's happening with a lot of those players that are right there is they're shifting their momentum a little over towards singles, and they're looking at that element of trying to play more singles play because they can get recognition and they can actually generate a little bit more revenue themselves doing singles.
Oh, I did not think about that. So the singles play allows them to build the credibility to potentially crack the top 10 to get the doubles experience.
Yes.
I did not think about that.
Yes, exactly.
This is a good one from Jonathan. And Jonathan is saying, he's saying with pickleball, I can play from a social standpoint, but once we start getting competitive, oftentimes the ball is going to my partner, who's the weaker player, and I'm often not getting shots whatsoever. Does the game need to be changed from a rule standpoint where the ball is sprinkled to both people on one side?
Ooh, that's another good
Because,
question.
dude, I'll watch
Right?
some of
So we're
these.
talking-
I'll watch some of these pro things, some of these pro matches on YouTube. There's literally, if it's especially in mixed doubles, the guy rarely gets hit to, and when sometimes the guy will take the shots completely away from the female.
Yep, that's very true. So, and this is one of the strategy things that a lot of players ask all the time. So what if I'm playing with a weaker partner and they're getting targeted all the time and I never get the opportunity to hit any shots? And what I would tell people is you have to try to be creative. So there's a lot of different strategies that you can use. You know, we throw the word out stacking, which, you know, to most people, especially at a club or at a rec level, it just gets confusing because it's confusing enough when you're switching sides and trying to figure out who's serving and what's going on because the points are so quick. But the stacking piece allows you to kind of shift around and move into different positions. And there's a lot of different ways that you can kind of get yourself and be active. Poaching being another one, right? So being able to try to shift over to the other side and just activate yourself a little bit more so that you help protect against your partner's position. But ultimately, if you have a weaker player and they're getting targeted, it's really tough to try to play. So doubles can be very challenging in that respect.
You don't think the rules would ever be changed to combat that, do you?
No, I don't think so. You know, and I think there's a lot of discussion about the rules in USA Pickleball and kind of where it's going. You know, it's the discussion is like a lot of the professional athletes that are out there that are playing never get asked about any rule changes or anything. None of the players get asked about it, and then it's always just the referees just making changes. So I think it's to benefit. I don't know if it's necessarily to benefit the overall thing, pickleball, or not. I'm not sure. I don't think the rules will ever change as far as that goes.
Christopher says, I watch a lot of pickleball on YouTube, and Jerry's right. Often in mixed doubles, the guys are just playing against each other or they're taking shots away from the ladies. Is that a good thing for the sport?
Yeah, and I would say I don't know. I think the challenge with mixed doubles, it's by far one of the hardest things that, you know, Megan will tell you personally that the hardest sport that she plays, right? And it's really challenging to kind of be solid on your side and not miss, and then try to let your partner take a tremendous all the balls right in the middle part of the court. So one of the strategies that they were doing is it's something that's actually called reverse stacking, where they actually shift on the other side. So then now she's in front of the lady instead of in front of the guy. So that allows her to have a lot more success and more time when the attack's coming from the cross court. So there are evolutions and there are strategies that are coming out there to kind of help with that. But mixed is definitely a really tough thing to do.
Candace, I love when you watch the show, Candace. I'm a huge fan of you. You know that. How did pickleball get started? Why did it become so popular in the last 2 years? My father-in-law is all in when it comes to pickleball, Jason.
Yeah, I mean, it hasn't just been over the last 2 years. It's been popular for a long time. It's probably been 10 years. The growth has been exponential over that time. I think most of us are just hearing about it here in this area because the growth hasn't hit. Like, for example, I don't know where Candace's father lives, but if he's down in Florida, down somewhere south, you know, it's filling this niche of people that don't necessarily, they can't quite play tennis anymore. It's like my body's not holding up. And it's filling this niche for activity, for competitiveness, as well as just, again, being able to be social with all of their friends. So it's blowing up in a way that allows those people down in Florida to be much more successful.
Kelly says, Jason, we miss you at ACAC. Do you miss us at ACAC? Do you miss the job? Also, what do you love about the new business you started?
Sorry, I didn't hear that last part, Jerry. What was that? So
She said, what do you love about the new business you started the most?
Yeah. So I do miss everyone at ACAC. So I worked at ACAC for over 10 years. So I had a really, really nice group of people that I loved working with there. So that was a great community, and I love working there at that facility. So one of the best things that I love about the new job ultimately is the freedom of that. So when I first went out by myself, it was really kind of scary, right? So it's a scary kind of first step of, am I going to have enough business to make it on my own when I'm leaving a full-time position? So that was a big, huge kind of scary step. But I also realized that now there's so many more doors that are open for me. So instead of having to make sure that I'm, working with just ACAC members, now I actually can open the doors to the entire community, which is way more people. So I can touch way more people now in the community than I ever could. So that's really, really exciting.
This question for you is a good one. What do you want to see from your business as we get out of COVID, as we return to some sense of normalcy? This is from Sherry. She says, we all see that the vaccines are coming out and people are coming back out and doing things that they did from a normal standpoint. What's the normal for Jason's business?
That's a great question. I mean, I think ultimately the big thing for me, the number one thing is to be a little bit more involved in the community, right, and the schools. I think that's number one. Number two, I think, is also helping to organize all these small little pockets of pickleball. So that going back to that first question, that we as a voice, right, going to the city saying, hey, we've got all these players that want purposeful pickleball courts. We can all be there kind of together, right, as one, as opposed to a bunch of divided groups.
This via Instagram, how do we get into the sport besides playing with our friends? Does he suggest lessons or clinics? I think he's probably going to suggest lessons or clinics here. You should.
Yes, of course. Yes. Yeah, and you can check them out on jgpickleball.com, right? I would suggest definitely lessons and clinics. And I think that's one of the things that, again, as you get out there and you start exposing yourself, you start having some fun and playing, if you really want to improve, that's one of the things that I would highly suggest that's important. Because if you've ever played any sport, if you're doing it for a duration of time and you've got all these bad habits now that take time to fix, it takes so much longer in the long run than it does if you come out initially and do some lessons and do some classes and get some good habits that build you into having a little bit more success.
Multiple folks asking, is your daughter into pickleball, Jason Grigg?
She does play a little bit. We try to get her out there as much as we possibly can. Unfortunately, she likes to make me run around more than she likes to whack the ball and then sometimes draw on the court a little bit more. But yes, she likes tennis and pickleball.
This question is a good one. I'll let you handle this question. Does he recommend a racket? First, it's called a paddle. I'm not trying to correct you, but I'm just letting you know it's called a paddle. But the question is, does he recommend a racket that I should buy?
Yeah, and that's also a really difficult question. So what I could suggest is it really depends on the level. And I know the challenge with pickleball, and this is one of the areas that I think needs to change over time, is that there's so much equipment out there. So for anybody that's a newbie coming in and they just start Googling pickleball paddles, it's like there's 800,000 of them. It's like, where do I start? Right? So what I would tell you is you're looking at something in the price range of anywhere from maybe $40 to $60 is kind of like a newbie paddle. Right? And then if you're a little bit more intermediate, we're looking for something a little bit more, they get a little bit pricier. It's up over 100, maybe even 125, depending on what type of paddle you're looking at. But that's kind of where you would start. So looking at more of the price range as opposed to maybe the type of paddle is kind of where I would tell you to go.
And I can offer some perspective on this. So I made the mistake when buying my first paddles because I had no idea about the sport. I just love playing racket sports. And I got two from Amazon. And for lack of better phrase, these two entry paddles were absolute crap. And I didn't realize they were crap until I got a good paddle, and I hate to say this, that was over $100. I think it was $119. And then the difference between the $35 paddle I got on Amazon and the $119 one, and there are some quality brands, maybe you can highlight those, but the difference was noticeable.
Yeah,
it was noticeable.
And I can tell you that like Decker is a big name, and they make a low end paddle that actually is cost efficient and is actually really good. And I've played with it a bunch myself, and it's pretty solid. There are other ones. Onyx makes a bunch of different beginner paddles too. And again, like I said, there's so many of them, it just can be overwhelming, right? So even if I give you a name and a type, it's like sometimes you can't even find those. So maybe checking out jgpickleball.com and emailing me, and I'll be happy to help you with a little paddle search.
The good thing about going through Jason for the net and paddle purchase is the man has probably vetted every brand out there. It's like when you purchase something on Amazon, you're looking for that 4 or 5 star review to tell you about the product. He's the review in person, kind of like the source of the source. This is a good question. Jerry, please don't use my name. You know I'm one of the better players in the area. Why or when can we get a Pouncy Park in this area, and what do we have to do it? Tell them Pouncy Park first.
So what Pouncy Park is they are in Rico County, so that's this side of Richmond. So they have I believe it's 12 courts. So they have 2 banks of 6 on the end of that. It's all community based, so you can go there and you can go play. But the way that place got built, and the reason it got built, is because they needed to keep up with Chesterfield County. And Chesterfield County was growing pickleball leaps and bounds by having tournaments and having events. And what was happening is they were afraid that they were going to lose all of their revenue in Henrico to Chesterfield. So that's really how that place got built. So that was one of the things. So I think that's one of the things that we can really look at here. I think number one, again, is I think we as a community need to all kind of group together and go to the city and say, look, this is how many players we have. This is the numbers. This is the activity. And this is how we want to try to do it. And I think we need to look at that element of, like we talked about before, maybe we create some huge events, right? And we bring people in from outside and look at revenue-based, selling hotels, right? Selling, food trucks and creating this, tournament that we could sell over 3 or 4 or 5 days and figure out ways to create revenue for the city of Charlottesville.
He's talking sports tourism and the value proposition of sports tourism, and I 1,000% agree with him. How this is going to be a reality is all the pickleball players consolidate so there's power in numbers, and then we got to present some kind of business model that shows this is the return on investment if the county does a cash outlay to build it. And I truly believe, like Kevin Costner said, if you build it, they will come. And a perfect example of that is, Jason, I'm going to play in my second tournament at Pouncy Park in May with Andrew.
Nice.
And the first one I went to, dude, I was shocked with how many people were going from like a 3 or 4 state area to Pouncy Park, staying in hotels, going out to dinner and bars after the tournament was over, and just like spending their money in this community just because they had a facility that could accommodate the game.
Yes. And that's very true, right? So, and I think that's one of those pieces that you're going to start seeing more of these larger facilities kind of show up because of that, right? So they can have more players, and I would be the same way. I mean, that was one of my first pickleball tournaments too that I did last April, or maybe last May because of COVID. And I was astounded at how many players were there, right? I was looking at the numbers before I went, and I was like, okay, well, there can't be like 1,000 people. And then I showed up, and it was like, holy cow, look at all the people. And they had so many players. And this is over, 4 days. So they had, was it Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday? They had multiple events going on over 4 days. And it was really pretty impressive.
All right, final word for you, my friend. Anywhere you want to go. I know Charlottesville and Central Virginia mean a lot to you. I know you got a lot of friends in this town. Anywhere you want to go, the show's yours.
Well, thank you, Jerry, for having me on. I really, really appreciate it. And I can't wait till we get to play some more pickleball again, right? So that's really where I want to be, is trying to play as much as possible going forward, because I'm addicted just as much as everyone else. But I think it's trying to figure out a way where we, again, can all kind of unify and be one voice going forward towards the city. I think the more players we can get involved, the more people we can get involved, the more we can be involved with the community and trying to show the city how many players we have and what we're doing and what we can try to do with the future of creating a permanent pickleball facility here in town. I think that's a big one. I think if we can do that and we can go forward as a group, I think that's very doable.
Candace says, Jason, McIntyre near the skate park would be a perfect place for something like this.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of different places. And I think also, I think if funding is a little bit of an issue, I think we could figure out a way to balance that out. I think the pickleball community, like if we were sharing something now, Jerry, where it's like, okay, we're going to do a GoFundMe and everyone give $10 from the pickleball community, I think we would raise $100,000 in about 10 minutes. If we were able to create, to say from the city, it's like, okay, just give us land. And if you're going to give us this space where we're going to build, an 8-court purposeful pickleball facility, we can, match grant whatever we're going to do, right, to help supplement whatever that is, whatever that costs.
Dude, I 1,000% agree with what you just said. And if you ever want to do this, I've said in the previous interview that I truly think There's two people in this community that are going to lead this charge. He's one of the two that is going to be the leader of this charge. If you wanted any help, exposure, platform, anything for a GoFundMe campaign where we're crowdsourcing money, where we're go to the county and say we will match up to this level just to show you that we have skin in the game and that we're willing to contribute and we see the future, and hopefully you see our passion for the sport and follow us. Dude, if you need any help with that, I am in. I could talk all freaking day with you about this. I just literally realized for the first time that this 18-minute interview is 39 minutes in. This guy is A-plus people. JGPickleball.com, JGPickleball.com. I will say it again, JGPickleball.com. Lessons, clinics. He vets the right merch and equipment for you guys. Trust the name in the game. Dude, I cannot wait to see you on the court, man.
Yeah, thanks, Jerry, for having me. I really appreciate it. Anytime you want to come chat pickleball, I'm in.
I'm going to keep pestering you to play.
Yeah, well, I'm in for that too. Have me on the show, have me play. I'm in for whatever.
That sounds good. You have a good one.
All right, thanks,
All
Jerry.
right, take care, Jason Grigg. It is the fastest growing sport in America, and it's so fun. I'll say it again. It is the fastest growing sport in America. It is the fastest growing sport in Central Virginia. It's the fastest growing sport in Charlottesville. And that's legit. Legit. Backed by statistics. I think I've said so many times on this program that I do not understand why Charlottesville and Central Virginia do not have more value proposition tied to sports tourism. Why are we not emphasizing sports tourism more in Charlottesville and Central Virginia? I grew up in Williamsburg, diehard soccer player, Williamsburg Soccer Club my entire life. My family and I would go to soccer tournaments in Charlotte, North Carolina, 3 times a year with our soccer club. We stayed in hotels. We went to restaurants, we spent money at retail, we infused millions of dollars into the Charlotte community, and it wasn't just our team, it was teams from all over the mid-Atlantic going to this major soccer tournament in Charlotte. Why? That happens in Richmond. The Richmond Strikers Club soccer team have built an incredible facility in Richmond. Richmond has regional soccer tournaments for men and girls. Richmond has humongous NASCAR events that drive the economy as well. We have the University of Virginia in our backyard. Tennis and squash are nationally known at the University of Virginia. Lacrosse and soccer, basketball and football, nationally known. Can you think of a single regional athletic tournament we have in this area? Seriously. What is one regional athletic tournament that's a 3 or 4 day endeavor that can drive the economy quarterly or twice a year in Charlottesville or Central Virginia? Can you think of one? Does that make sense with UVA in our background? UVA in our backyard? We have one of the best athletic departments out there that we can partner with, that have fields, resources, and facilities. And think about this pitch to UVA. Hey, University of Virginia Athletic Department, we'd love your help in hosting a regional soccer tournament that would be great for brand exposure for your school. Your athletic department will drive new enrollment of students into your school. This will help you make money. I mean, it's the easiest thing in the world. I would very much encourage, and I'm going to sign off with this because I'm now 5 minutes late for a conference call. I will sign off with this. I would very much encourage leadership in Central Virginia, whether it's the Board of Supervisors at Albemarle County, whether it's the City Council in Charlottesville, whether it's the Board of Supervisors in Louisa. I would very much encourage the prioritization of sports tourism to help jumpstart the economy and a budget for 2022 that's an absolute shambles. Think incrementally, new ways to source the budget, new ways to fund the budget, as opposed to increasing taxes that only impact those that are living on the margin financially. That's one man's take. All right, I'm out of here. This is the I Love CVille Show. Thank you for joining us on a gorgeous day to be alive. Any day above the mud, even if it's raining, is a great day to be alive. I'll say it again. Any day above the mud, even if it's raining, is a great day to be alive. Get outside, work on your conditioning, your health, have fun. Thank you for joining us on the I Love CVille Show.